Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. There's a cool event going on here in a couple of weeks in the Ozarks that we wanted to take some time to tell you all about. Major Danny Kazare with the Junior ROTC at Ozark is joining us today. Danny, thanks for being here. Kind of talk about this. This is a unique event. You don't see this very often. Kind of talk about the this 50-mile hike you guys are putting on and inviting members of the community to.
Sure. So this is a challenge to try to walk 50 miles all at once. It seems a bit daunting. It seems like kind of the ultra marathon or the extreme athlete kind of event. But I don't see it that way. I see this as something for the casual athlete that goes beyond the kind of event they've tried before, goes beyond the kind of event they've seen themselves as capable before, of completing before. But it's absolutely the kind of event I think they can accomplish if they're willing to give it a shot. So we give cadets or the general public 20 hours to try to walk 50 miles. Now, you don't get 20 hours of daylight in a single day, so that means we start in the evening, they walk through the night. They get to watch the sunrise. I promise it'll be the most beautiful sunrise they've ever seen when they walked through the night. And they keep walking till mid-afternoon. We sponsor aid stations about every 4 miles or so along the trail that supply them with food, with water, with first aid, with a porta potty, whatever they need along the trail, as that's critical. If you're gonna walk 50 miles in one stretch, you gotta have support or you gotta carry all your gear. And we're not expecting the kind of people who need to carry all their gear to be the only ones who participate in this.
Sure. It's tough enough to walk 50 miles if you haven't been training for it or anything else like that. So you guys are going to help out, help people get along the way. Kind of talk about, you were telling me earlier, when you first experienced a challenge like this. Kind of talk about your experience when you first came upon a 50-mile challenge and why you wanted to continue it here.
Sure. So this was during my military career. I was stationed out in Maryland, and I ran on the weekends with a friend of mine. And he informed me about an event that was a 50-mile in 18 hours challenge. It was called the Alonzo Stagg Hike, named after a famous football coach who had issued a challenge to America's youth to hike 50 miles in 18 hours. I joined him on it without any expectation that I could hike 50 miles continuously, but thought I run as well as he runs. He was a bit older than me, so I thought I was young enough that if I could keep up with him running, I can surely walk until he's willing to give up. He didn't give up, so we walked 50 miles, and I came home with sore feet, but a lot of pride. As you mentioned, it's a unique event. As I looked around since then for other opportunities like this, I never saw one anywhere. Once I got more on the internet, as the internet came around a little bit more, I realized that there were 50-20 hikes that other people were doing that was the same idea. Now, when I say other people, I haven't found anywhere that hosts this as a recurring event, but I found Boy Scout troops would periodically organize this and challenge their scouts to hike 50 miles in 20 hours. They often trace the heritage of this event back to Teddy Roosevelt, as he had a challenge to military officers to hike 50 miles in 3 days. We're making it a little bit harder challenge than what he offered them. But the idea, the feeling I had from completing that, it was just so neat that I couldn't wait for the opportunity to extend that to other people someday. Once I got out of the military and settled here in the Ozark Junior ROTC program, I pitched the idea to some of the cadets one day as just an event I'd like to host someday. And there was one particular young man who I guess I should have known better than to pitch any future good ideas to, because every time I pitched a future good idea, he became adamant that we do it now. And so we launched it our first year. We've had our first year, we had a couple finishers. We've had success each year with cadets getting farther than they ever thought they'd get before. But frankly, in the ensuing years that we've done it, we've not even had people finish. We've not every single year had people finish. It was enough of a challenge that on the shorter timeline we used to afford people, we could not count on a finisher each year. With the 20-hour timeline that we're extending it to this year, we're pretty confident that we're going to have a handful of finishers and a handful of people leaving eager to repeat it again in the future. I'm sure.
Kind of talk about the challenges to complete a 50-mile hike. I'm sure, a lot of it's got to be between the ears more than anything.
Yes. So I'll go physical first, and then I'll talk about between the ears. Most folks feel like that's the kind of event that we got to train for and condition ourselves for, and it's really not physically. The main physical limitation is the feet. If people aren't wearing the right shoes, they will blister out before they finish 50 miles. Even wearing the right shoes, many of them will come home blistered. If they will keep on top of the blisters, treat their feet before the blisters develop, as again, every 4 miles they got an opportunity to treat the feet, then they can walk 50 miles. The challenge for many of them becomes that they're walking with a pack of friends. The friends' feet aren't blistered. They don't want to be the one guy who holds the group up, so they just keep going, and then they have to drop out along the way. But between the ears, 50 miles is tedious. maybe the better way to put it is 20 hours is tedious. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you think this was kind of cool at midnight. It was kind of cool at 1 a.m. It's not cool anymore. I'm just kind of tired. And it's monotonous. And there's no real exciting lure to keep me going. That's where the between the ears kicks in. In fact, last year, as I referenced the one young lady who finished last year, somewhere around the 30 to 35 mile mark, I referenced to her. I said, soon you're going to start feeling this desire to quit. Don't entertain it. When we finished the hike, she said, you remember when you told me about that desire to quit kicking in? It had kicked in 10 miles before. So it's just kind of a funny reference to the fact that, yes, it's you don't do it for the joy of the event in real time. You do it for the joy of knowing you have finished it, for the pride and the sense of accomplishment that it instills.
Well, Major Kazare, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the opportunity.
We'll be back with more Ozarks Tonight right after this.